I'd like to call the City of Elkhorn Common Council, January 15th, 5:30 meeting to order. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Bruce Lechner,
Here.
Tim Sharota,
Here.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Here.
Ron Dunwoody,
Here.
Scott McClory,
Here.
Ken Minell,
Here.
Carol Young.
Here.
Next, public comment. Anybody here for public comment tonight? If nobody's here for public comment, we'll move on. We have the consent agenda, the council meeting minutes of January 3rd, 2024, and temporary Class B beer and Class B wine license for the Walworth County Agricultural Society at the Walworth County Fairgrounds. See attached list of events. That was in your packet, everybody? Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve both items on the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on either item on the consent agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed for the consent agenda. Next, we have bills payable, consideration and recommendation to pay. City bills this month is $7,152,521.53.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
We have a motion to pay the bills. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on any bills in your packet? Roll call, please.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Carol Young,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Tim Sharota.
Yes.
Motion passed to pay the bills this month. Next, report of city officers. Mayor, I just want to send a thank you out to Matt and the whole DPW crew and police chief and his crew and everybody for the whole winter storm this weekend. I did receive some complaints, but I also did receive a few positives, which I did pass on to Matt for both. And I hopefully Matt passes on to the employees for a good job well done. So
Sure did. Thank you.
thank you. Any other complaints that anybody have, or you guys hear complaints and both?
Got complaints?
Yep. If there's anything, you just pass them on to Matt, please, so, yeah. But I think, with the storm we had, it was well taken care of, so thank you, Matt. Next, city administrator.
So we had a meeting last week with Bryan Building Corporation. They're out of Brookfield. They're interested in doing an industrial park on the south side of the city, or I should say close to I-43, just west of the Kunis RV. And so we had a pretty productive meeting with them. They're planning on coming back with some concept plans in probably a month or so to show the planning commission to get feedback from the council about what they're looking to do. Last week I went to Madison for the Senate hearing about the Urban Towns Bill. There was a lot of speakers there, both for and against the proposed legislation. I spoke towards the end, and it sounded like some of the drafters of the bill are going to be removing the language regarding the water sewer requirement. So that at least would be good to get that out of the bill. But it sounded like some of the ETZ and annexation language was still, they're still interested in moving forward. But I didn't get a good sense as to whether or not the Senate's going to be pushing that forward or not. So it sounded like most of the state, obviously the cities were opposed to it, and it sounded like the State Planning Association, some of the builders were opposed to it. It sounded like mostly the towns were the ones that were in favor. But and then we had a meeting today with the Tracy Group about a potential residential development on West Market Street. I know Matt was there along with Allison Schwark, our zoning administrator, and we just, and as well as Naomi. It was just productive. We're just talking about kind of some of their concerns or questions about roadway width and how the project can be made economically feasible for them. So they were going to go back to the drawing board a little bit, and then the public hearing is tomorrow with the PSC about the proposed water rate increase. It's going to be tomorrow at 2. Anybody you can either participate online through the Zoom link that the PSC distributed and was in our customer notice that was sent out. But alternatively, anybody that doesn't want to do it that way can come here. We'll be showing the hearing here, and anybody who wants to speak during the public hearing can come and do it here. So a couple options for you. And then just to verify that for the ATV discussion next meeting, we do have Jason Roberts coming, the safety warden for the DNR, to talk about ATVs and UTVs. So thank you, Chief, for getting that set up and organized. And then lastly, the mayor sort of already, we were thinking the same thing, but I do want to thank the DPW for all their hard work. And I guess we'll, if there were some specific concerns or things in particular that we need to focus on, I guess certainly would be open to what those concerns were. But I appreciate what DPW did do, because I know they were on the go for starting on Tuesday through Saturday and Sunday. So it was a long week for them. And then just wanted to do quick shout out too. We got a thank you from somebody who was helped by the electric department. So apparently somebody called the emergency after hours emergency number, and they said that they appreciated that the crew came out in quote miserable weather and reconnected the electrical lines, and they were amazed how quickly they got here. Good job, says Mike Kremlin and Gene Kremlin. So thank you to the electric department for being responsive. Matt, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add on the DPW public works sides.
No, not really. We did have, with the storm event, LRS didn't collect on half of Thursday's route and all of Friday's route. So they were going to try on Saturday, but it didn't work out with the landfill. So they completed that today. And I did get word, at least from LRS, that they completed through both Thursday and Friday's route. And they'll be back to normal starting tomorrow again. So.
And I can just say, I know we were not the only jurisdiction that had trash collection delayed. So when I was driving to Madison on Wednesday for the hearing, they were saying the same thing. So it sounds like it was a pretty common problem.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Any questions for Adam on anything? Okay, next, report of city boards and community partners. Fire advisory. Trent, I think we have a meeting end of the month this month, don't we?
The 25th at 6 p.m., sir.
Yep. Next, library.
The library has gotten off to a good start on the new year. Despite some challenges from the winter weather, their circulation is much higher than last January. In addition, they had great attendance at today's Land of Stories annual children and family program. The staff were able to pivot the program from Saturday due to the library closure on Friday to Monday, and everyone had a good time.
Thank you, Tim. Recreation advisory.
Yeah, the next meeting will be next Wednesday, January 24th, here at City Hall at 5:30 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Chamber.
No report.
No report? Fine. Community grant writer. Katie. Welcome.
Happy New Year, everyone. I wanted to share some good news with you. The school district was recently awarded a $90,000 grant in partnership. Thank you to Chief Christensen for letting us know about it, to help with vape prevention that's affecting the youth in the city of Elkhorn. Working currently with Judge Fitzsimmons, our new municipal court judge, to come up with an alternative disposition to really address addiction behaviors of our youth. The city of Elkhorn had one of the highest years on record for underage usage and citation for vaping. So it's something that's affecting all of our kids and making sure that we can get them the help that they need. In the coming year is something that we're really looking forward to. Excuse me. The other thing I wanted to mention is the community wish list that I sent out last fall. It has been the most wonderful thing to hear from community members that I can't help with all of the project, but I can help with some of the project, or I didn't necessarily see something in there that I loved, but I thought, can you help me with something else? So I actually am working with 2 community members right now on large projects, or legacy gifts, let's call them, that they're interested in giving to the city. So I should have more on that in the coming months. But you plant the seed and we're going to watch it grow in 2024. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that brings.
Thank you, Katie. Any questions for Katie, council members? Thank you. Next, committee reports. Legislatory and regulatory.
Yes, we got one thing on there, and that's a consideration for the applicant of the Ricky's Place. Basically, on December 4th, we had this come before us, and wasn't enough time to get the notice in the newspaper. So we turned around and done that. Lacy got it in, so it could come back before us. At our meeting on December 4th, though, the committee made a motion to conditionally approve the applicant pending upon paperwork and responding to the responses to the notice. All steps are now complete. So that was our motion back then. Do I have to make a motion now?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the liquor license to Ricky's Place Restaurant, Class B liquor, Class B fermented malt beverages at 1 North Lincoln Street, agent Ricardo Angeles. I believe he's here tonight.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Tim Sharota,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Carol Young.
Yes.
Motion passed for the new application for the liquor license, Class B liquor and Class B fermented malt beverage for 1 North Lincoln Street, agent Ricardo Angeles. Thank
Good
you,
luck.
guys. Good luck.
Yep.
Next, unfinished business. Discussion and possible decision regarding proposal from Tesca Associates Incorporated to provide professional planning services for the creation of a land use plan and ordinance for the city's ETZ in the town of Sugar Creek. This was on our last agenda. ETD did meet the meeting after, and it sounds like Sugar Creek is on board, correct, Adam? Did you get that from the meeting, or? Or Ken was there, or?
Yeah, I was
I know
there.
Tim
Tim
was
was
there.
there.
Yeah, I think I'll defer to the aldermen that were there to.
Well, they had to meet, okay, and I think they came to a point where they realized that, you know, we gotta get together here and make things happen. What we're looking at here tonight is for the services, you know, moving forward and having them help us through it, and I truly believe, although Allison did an outstanding job, our zoning administrator, keeping the meeting going, but I truly believe that having that person there with us will help it along, because, you know, when we get to a deadlock, which there was a couple there, he had to explain some things. So, I know Tim was there too. I'd be in favor of, going forward with Tesca, for the 4 meetings, I think is what was there. Tim, I don't know if you got anything to add, but.
Yeah, I was at that meeting and I'm as convinced as ever that it's gonna be a long uphill struggle. But I think if we don't engage Tesca in this, there's no chance of any agreement coming. So I'd be in favor too of having Tesca mediate this dispute.
Well,
No, there's no motion yet.
Right.
Nobody said
Yeah,
anything, so
that's fine. I'm waiting.
we can still talk if,
Okay, so, and to your point, the Tesca remediation would be a 50-50 on the town and on the city?
No.
We'd have to eat the whole 100%.
correct.
Not in favor of that.
770.
I think, I don't know, Adam, maybe you can clear that up. We petitioned for the ETZ, so it's kind of our responsibility to see it through.
Yeah, just for clarification, that I wouldn't necessarily say that they're so much mediating as it is they're guiding us through the process, but also they're going to be responsible for helping create the maps. They're going to be, you know, most of this ETZ planning process is about creating a future land use map. So I mean, they're going to be involved in the actual map creation. So that's part of it. So just want to clarify that.
And I think their professionalism at that point would help both sides, because I'm sure we could draw one up, and they made a comment, they've already drawn one up, you know. So to have them hear, this is what they do, you know, and that money would come out of,
Yeah, I mean,
there's a fund for that, Scott.
Right, I remember we talked about it. So does the township have someone similar to a Tesca and Associates on their behalf?
No.
No. So in order to protect the city's interests, it would be incumbent upon us to use those encumbered funds.
Yes,
Okay,
I believe so.
all right.
And to Alderman Minell's point, you know, unfortunately, in terms of doing an ETZ planning process from scratch, you know, right now, nobody in the city has got that experience. I mean,
Oh, for
really.
sure.
So that's why their assistance is going to be really critical moving forward.
Okay.
Any other questions? Or else do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to hire for the 4 meetings for Tesca Associates to provide professional planning services and creation of a land use plan and ordinance for the city's ETZ and the town of Sugar Creek.
So we have a motion to approve the proposal. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Carol Young,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Tim Sharota.
Yes.
I guess I need one question from legal. Is there a dollar amount we should be approving?
Is there a dollar amount in the proposal?
There is a dollar amount in there.
So if you're approving the proposal, you just approve the dollar amount.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, so motion approved for the proposal for moving forward, Tesca Associates, to provide professional and planning services for the creation of a land use plan and ordinance for the city of Elkhorn, ETZ, in the town of Sugar Creek. Next, new business. Resolution number 24-02, a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $460,183 sewer system revenue bonds, series 2024, and providing for other details and covenants with the respects thereto. Council members? Those in your packet? Questions or a motion, please?
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 24-02.
We have a motion to approve 24-02. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Tim Sharota,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Carol Young,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.
Yes.
Motion approved for resolution number 24-02. Next, we have resolution number 24-03, a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $1,991,290 Waterworks and Electric Systems Revenue Bonds, Series 2024, and providing for other details and covenants with respects thereto. Questions? Or a motion, council?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2403.
We have a motion to approve resolution number 2403. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or further discussion? Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Tim Sharota,
Yes.
Carol Young,
Yes.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Scott McClory.
Yes.
Motion passed for resolution number 24-03. Next, discussion and possible decision regarding ordinance number 24-01, an ordinance amending the Elkhorn Municipal Code at chapter 17.7-2 yards. We can do a first and possible second reading if council would like it. It was all in your packet.
I move we waive the first reading.
We have a motion to waive the first reading for ordinance number 24-01. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion?
Could you pull it up? Would you mind, Matt?
Sure, I also have Allison on Zoom too, if anybody wants to ask Allison any questions.
1 second, please.
Take your time, Scott.
I just don't remember, I don't remember the impetus for this.
Allison, can you provide a kind of the backstory or background on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Nope.
Nope. Can you turn it up, Matt?
Turn it up.
Crank it up.
Go ahead, Alice, one more time.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Sort of.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. So the reason this was brought to first the Plan Commission and now the City Council is because historically there's always been, I think, in the zoning department, types of materials that we have permitted for fences and sheds or accessory buildings, but our code never explicitly talked about those materials that we either allowed or did not allow. So I wanted to go back and just amend our ordinance so that those specific materials are actually listed in the code so that we have some, I guess, stronger enforcement if it were ever to come, to a dispute where a property owner was not agreeable to me denying a certain type of material within the city, where now our code will actually explicitly state those materials that we will be allowing or not allowing.
Does that,
Add something there?
sure, go ahead.
When we worked on this language together, Allison and I want to call your attention to sub 4 and sub 5 on the second page of the ordinance. We put some specific language in there to address those concerns that she just raised, and also the last sentence of 4 and 5 is intended so that she can make some judgment calls about consistency without having to come back to council and amend the ordinance every single time. Because building materials were always changing, and what wasn't going to be something that would have been acceptable to the city now is. For example, I was talking about this with Adam before the meeting started. You'd think of a metal shed in the past, and you think of this cheap tin that nobody wanted and it would look bad, but now there's all these high-class metal buildings that you can get, and so she wanted to be able to address those types of issues. Is that a fair characterization, Allison, of what we talked about?
Yes, it absolutely is.
I have a question. Can you scroll back up again, Matt, towards the top? Okay, stop. Under 1A, it says fences are limited to a maximum height of 4 feet, but then on 2, it says that solid fences are 6 feet. What's the difference?
That's for the street yard, side street yard. There's like different categories for the fencing, for the heights, right, Allison?
Yes, and I apologize. The audio cut out a little bit. Could you repeat the question?
My question is that I think the way it's written, there's going to be some confusion regarding whether or not your fence can be 4 feet tall or 6 feet tall.
So that is how our code is currently written. That's the active code. There are different definitions within our zoning ordinance, and also diagrams within our zoning ordinance that show you what a street yard is versus a front yard, rear yard, or side yard. So there is no change to that verbiage within this ordinance. The only change here would be the material requirements for the fencing.
So when you say 4 feet, Allison, that's a roadside, and the back property can be 6 feet?
Yes, so anything in the rear or interior side yard can be 6 foot, a max of 6 feet. So it can be between anywhere from 4 to 6 feet, and it can be open style or privacy. And then when we're talking about a fence that's constructed on a street yard or in a front yard, that would be fence that would be limited to 4 feet in height and open style, like a picket fence or something of that nature.
And that's currently what we had in the ordinance before?
Yes, no change to
So
that at all.
the only thing changed in this ordinance is the material?
Yes, that is correct.
I might be all wet on this, but I would think that having one standard maximum of 6 feet, regardless of where kind of yard you have or where you put it, would make a heck of a lot more sense. Like what?
We absolutely want to make sure that we're restricting the heights of fences within the front yard due to impeding the view of traffic and creating vision triangles. Across the board, I would say universally throughout every municipality that I work in, there is 2 different height requirements as well. So that 4 foot and that 6 foot fencing, that's very common across the board.
You don't really get much pushback on that either from residents because they don't expect that they're gonna have a 6-foot solid fence in their front yard. They know, they want that in their backyard so that their kids and their dogs and their family events can be private if they want it that way. But in the front yard, 4-foot fences is still plenty high.
Does that answer your question, Scott?
It answered my question. I just don't I don't understand how, if someone puts a 6-foot tall fence in their front yard, how that can obstruct someone's view of the road. I mean, you're on the road.
Setbacks, there's setbacks.
Right.
If you're, I know we had I don't know if it was a planning commission years ago or here at council, we had somebody asking for a variance on that. And the property was a corner lot. So if you had a 6-foot high fence going to the corner, you can't see anything. Traffic coming either direction.
Right.
So that's what it's trying to avoid.
Okay.
So we have a motion to waive the first reading. Any other further question or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed for waiving the reading of ordinance number 24-01. Do we have a second for the second reading?
I move we approve ordinance number, what'd you
2401.
say, 24-01?
Yes, we have a motion to approve ordinance number 24-01. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed for ordinance number 24-01 for amending the municipal code at chapter 17.7-2 for yards. Next, discussion and possible decision regarding request by Steve Smith of North Shore Development LLC for conditional use permit at 5384 Highway 11, located in city's ETZ in the town of Delvin, to use the property for marine service and off-season storage. I know this went through ETZ. Everybody's seen it in their packet. Do we have any questions, or do I have a motion?
I guess I'd like to make a comment. There's a lot of conditions on this. I was at the ETZ meeting too, and my biggest concern is hours of operation. They're giving him 7 days a week, and I guess I'd like to see that, down to 6 days a week. And a lot of the neighbors are complaining about this. We can at least give them Sundays without the traffic and the noise, if it was me.
Any other discussion?
I agree with that. That was one of the big things when it was brought before the council the first time to even be considered, and they've got to have something there. That place has been a disaster out there for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's up to you guys to make that motion, if you want to put it in a conditional use for that.
I do have another question. If this was approved, and I know there's a lot of conditions on it, I don't have a whole ton of faith in this operator not letting it go back to being, let's say, a mess. Who has authority to hold his feet to the fire on all these conditions? Is it the city of Elkhorn, or is it the township?
It's the city of Elkhorn, correct, Adam? This kind of goes back to our last one on Highway 11, correct?
Mhm. You want me to do that?
Yes, please.
If I could chime in, Adam.
Yep.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Allison.
wonderful. Thank you. So in terms of enforcement, if it's anything pertaining to the conditional use permit itself and anything pertaining to our zoning ordinance or the county zoning ordinance, the city of Elkhorn would be responsible. If it's anything pertaining to property maintenance or any codes that would only be enforceable in the town of Delavan jurisdiction, such as like a junk vehicle or something of that nature, then it could also be enforced on the town of Delavan side. One thing that we could implement is like a look back period on this property to ensure that the conditions are being met and the site plan is being built to standard. I could do like a 1-year look back period go back after a year, complete an inspection, and then potentially even a 5-year look back where after 5 years, I go back out and check the property for full compliance to ensure that they're still meeting all standards, all requirements, they've built out all the phases correctly, and that they're not, starting that buildup of unsightly debris or junked equipment anymore, and that they're abiding by all the requirements of the CUP.
Ward, do you want to add something?
Well, yeah, that's basically was gonna be my comments, and I agree with everything with Allison, with what she just said, and that's been a consistent issue with the city is we'll approve something and it'll say, you're only allowed to have 5 of these X things, outside or something, and then pretty soon they've got 10 or 20 of them, and there's nobody looking at it or for the weeds and all that, and so that's why we've got zoning enforcement going the way that we've done, and these look-back periods, if they were built in to the conditional uses, that would allow her to put that on sort of a tickler system, that would really go a long way towards solving some of those problems that always are enforcement issues here in Elkhorn.
I guess the look back thing satisfies a lot of my questions. Because initially, when they said the town would be responsible for some issues and the city for the others, I know some of the neighbors are going to be very concerned about this. I can see them going to the town and they'll say, well, that's the city. You go to the city, well, that's the town.
Back and forth.
But this look back thing, if Allison's going to be out there in 1 year and 5 years, I think, they'll have to comply. So I guess I would make a motion to approve this with the change in the conditions that they operate 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, and I think whatever the hours were that were listed.
8 to 6?
8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and also adding a condition where there's a 1 year look back and then a 5 year look back.
I'd say keep it to a look back every year.
You'd rather, I'll amend my motion to say a look back annually.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend the conditional use permit with exchanges of operations of only 6 days a week, not 7, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and with a look back of annually look back and make sure they're complying with the conditional use permit.
That's it.
So probably from the date of approval?
From the date of approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Sure, if you can please come up to the podium, I'll recognize, and if you can state your name and address for it.
My name is Steve Smith from North Shore Development Corporation. The operations from 7 days to 6, and it's telling me on Sundays, basically, I can't be in my business. I can't have anyone drop a boat off. I mean, this is the marine industry, and we're open. All marinas are open on Sundays around here. And we don't do a lot of volume of working on boats, but we have a lot of people dropping their stuff off from the problems they have over the weekend. And as far as the operation of the boats, we won't operate a boat on the weekend, on a Sunday, as far as starting and up and that. But we may be working on a boat because we can't just shut the place down. In the wintertime, I'll be glad. You can just make it Saturday and Sunday. But I just think you should consider that there should be no renting of boats on Sunday. That's one thing. They're worried about the noise. And the traffic, there's no traffic on Sundays. 1 or 2 boats come in. So, and the only other thing we do, and there's a peak time in the spring and summer when there might be Sundays when we're taking boats out to the lake, and in the fall pulling them back in, because people surrender them on weekends usually. But that's the only comment I got to make on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Council members, you heard the comments. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussions or? Roll call, please.
Tim Sharota,
Yes.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Cheryl Young,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.
Yes.
Motion passed for the conditional use permit at 5384 Highway 11 for the property of marine service and off-season storage with the conditions, motion in the motion. Next, we have discussion and possible decision regarding request by Peter Murphy of One Energy Development LLC for conditional use permit at tax key parcel KLF 1900006 located in the city's ETZ of Town of Lafayette to use the property for solar energy generation project. That was all in your packet. Council members, any questions or a motion? Say something. Anybody? Oh, sure, go ahead. If you state your name and address, please.
My name is Tom Stocko. I'm on the ETZ board, and I live at 226 Van Buren Street in Elkhorn here. My thing with this has been, one, the only people that are benefiting from this are going to be We Energies and the property owner. I asked them at the time, does Elkhorn benefit? No. Does anybody else benefit? Just the homeowner or the landowner and We Energies, which they intend to sell it to We Energies, and then they take it over. My other thing was maintaining it. How many per square foot panels are going in? And we saw a nice pretty picture of black-eyed Susans all up and down the rows. But they say they don't mow it. It's going to take a while to get all pretty flowers in there. My biggest thing was just that the amount of panels that are there. How many years? It's 30 years, I think, that the lease is for. I just, is it one every 15 feet? Is it 5 in that 15 feet? Are they the rows, how far apart? How much is in there? That's my concerns.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Council members, it was recommended to approve, but it's up to you guys. I know this question did come up, I think at our last plan commission about solar panels. And Ward, can you kind of give a definition? Because the state really allows.
Well, the statute is pretty clear on this, and there's a few of them that unless the city could show actual harm, detriment to the city in some way, that if this were to be taken to the next level by the applicant and we denied it on a basis of just because we didn't want it, we wouldn't win. It's pretty clear. Because there's a strong public policy that's been set forth by the legislature to encourage this sort of alternative energy. And in this instance, I don't think we have any vision issues or, creating a sightline problem or anything like that. So unless somebody can suggest some that's not been brought up to now, I think your hands are kind of tied here.
So council members, you just heard our legal advice.
Well, it was recommended to the full council for approval,
Correct.
so I'll make that motion.
That was on a 3-2 vote, if that makes any difference to you, so.
We got to have a second or not before we go any further.
Right.
Second.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Okay. And as Ken said, that was on a 3-2 vote, but we did hear our legal advice too, so. Do we have any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
No.
Carol Young,
No.
Tim Sharota.
No.
3-3.
So it's a 3-3 tie. I will say yes. So motion pass on a conditional use permit at, for One Energy's development. Next, discussion and possible decision regarding resolution 24-04, a resolution denying a conditional use permit from a towing company for an impound lot and outdoor vehicle storage at 544 South Lincoln Street.
On that one, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah. That was one that was sent back. Gary, I think you made the motion, sent it back, got back in front of the planning commission, and we reviewed the conditions that were put on it. And Allison's still there, isn't she? If she's got any input on this. But as it came back and we reviewed it again, it was unanimous that we deny. There were some things on there that he couldn't really even do with the property because there wasn't enough room to do it. You know, like there had to be a buffer there by the residential, which we all know was right next door. So he basically could not, under the conditions that we asked, couldn't even do it. So it came back to us and we denied it. So that's, unless Adam has any more on that, or Allison wants to say anything.
Is that a motion you have
Yeah.
first? Hold
Go
on,
ahead.
Allison.
Yeah.
Ken,
Thanks,
is that a
Ken.
motion
I
or?
was just going,
Let Allison talk. She can't talk. All
I
right,
was
I'll make a
just-
motion. Okay. To, I gotta get up.
To deny?
To deny.
Resolution number 24-04?
Yes, there we go.
We have a motion to deny resolution 24-04. Do I have a second? We have a,
Just so we're clear, the motion would be to
To
approve
approve.
the resolution to deny.
okay, yes,
Right.
correct. Sorry, that's okay. So now we can discuss. So Allison, if you'd like to,
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I was just going to add that, yes, Ken was absolutely correct. We did find at the Plan Commission meeting that there was substantial evidence to deny this conditional use. We did not take that lightly. The Plan Commission discussed many, I believe, 7 or 8 points that they had found where the conditional use permit and the conditions listed would just not work with the city of Elkhorn's land use plan, comprehensive plan, and overall safety of the city. So they did want to proceed with that denial, and therefore the resolution does outline the reasons why the Plan Commission recommended that denial.
Thank you.
thank you, Allison. Council members, any questions? Or discussion? So we have a motion to deny resolution number 24-04.
Motion to approve.
Approving the resolution.
Approve, I'm sorry, yes. Resolution denying.
Approve to deny.
Sorry about that, council. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure who the second was.
Was.
Thank you. Ken Minell,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Tim Sharota,
Yes.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Carol Young.
Yes.
Motion passed to approve resolution number 24-04 in denying a conditional use permit for a towing company on 544 South Lincoln Street. Next, discussion and possible decision regarding advertising the 2024 Highway 67 bypass lane project for bids. Matt, do you have anything to add to that, or Mike down there?
No, in the packet I put together, I think everybody's aware of this project or the background for it. The DOT is resurfacing 67, so to try to stay, in order to keep those projects going at the same time, that's why we were looking to add it to the CIP for 24. So it is within the budget. We did have a revised estimate that Kapoor provided. So unless you have any further questions about it, this would be to to start bidding the project. The plan as of right now would be to start advertising next week, Thursday would be the first advertisement. And then we would open plans, I think it was on the 8th. But yeah, we would get going on that process if the council was interested in moving forward.
Council members, questions, motion?
I would make the motion to approve the advertising for the bypass bid on Highway 67.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Carol Young,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Tim Sharota,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.
Yes. Motion passed to advertise for the 2024 Highway 767 bypass lane project for bids. Next, discussion of possible decision regarding advertising the 2024 Centralia Street Phase 2 reconstruction project for bids, including Mackenzie Lane and an alternate bid for McLean Road speed calming project.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or discussion?
My only discussion is just information for council. So, we did, in terms of financing the water and sewer portions of this project, we have applications, or I should say, we filed an intent to apply for DNR, Clean Water, Safe Drinking Water funds. Unfortunately, the applications, we submitted the intent to apply, but the applications are submitted in the summertime, and then you get they get reviewed, and they'll get reviewed in fall of '24, and then we'll get, assuming it gets approved, we'll get the funding, and it'd be close on the loans probably December, January of next year. So we're going to be in a similar situation as to where we were this year, where we had to use temporary financing from the electric department and sewer funds to bridge the gap until we got that funding. So I just want to make you aware that we'll have to come back. I mean, when the bids actually come in, and give you more information about what, how much funding would be needed, or what that financing plan would be. So I just want to make you aware of that we are going to have to come up with some sort of short-term coverage again for this project. So,
Council members, any question? Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Tim Sharota,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Carol Young.
Yes.
Motion passed for regarding advertising for the 2024 Centralia Street Phase 2 reconstruction project for bids, which includes Mackenzie Lane and an alternate bid for McLean Road speed calming project. We have discussion and possible decision regarding implementation date of new water rates, which nobody likes to see, but council? Would any council like to speak?
What is staff recommending for implementation of the water rates?
thanks, Alderman Schroeder. That's really
I
kind
didn't
of
think
you.
you wanted me to just pick a date.
No, I'm kidding. Just for clarification, so we have the hearing tomorrow in front of the PSC. They're saying it'll take 2 to 3 weeks for them to make a final decision what those rates are going to be. So, and then they said it typically takes 1 to 90 days for the city to implement that. So our understanding is we have the flexibility to decide when to implement those rates. Hypothetically, if they get back to us in, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks, well, realistically, we wouldn't be able to implement those rates, February 1. So the earliest we could potentially do it would be March 1. And as I mentioned in the memo, the rates would take effect March 1, but then the first billing period would be March 1 to the end of March. So it would technically be billed out in April, paid in May. So it would take a while, even if you start the new rates in March 1, for it to start appearing on residents' bills. The other option is if you want to wait another month, you could start those new rates April 1. I would just caution that, obviously we're already a quarter of the way through the year, and with the water fund being in the situation it is, that a delay is just further
down.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, completely up to council what you want to do, and so.
I guess I move we implement the new water rates March 1st,
That's implementing
if approved by the,
by the thing for
Yeah.
1 to 90,
Mhm.
if that's our soonest date. Okay, we have a motion for implementing if is approved and our soonest date is March 1st. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on that date?
I do. Just to make sure, I'm hoping you guys already thought about it, but adding it into the billing and encode and all that kind of stuff is not gonna take like weeks or months. It's gonna be something that you can just put in the system.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It doesn't take long at all. I guess the only other question or comment I guess I have is, as far as noticing customers, do we just put it in with the bill that's gonna be mailed at the end of February? Or do we need to do a special mailing?
I think with the end of February, council, is that, I think it's already been out there, hasn't it?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, people have commented before on it, so council fine with putting it in the end of February? Okay. So no problem implementing it into the new,
No, not at
Okay.
all.
okay. Any other questions, council? Roll call, please.
Tim Sharota,
yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Carol Young.
Yes.
Motion passed for implementation date of the new water rates as of March 1st if, everything is okayed, correct, Adam?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Discussion and possible decision regarding second council meeting date in February. Those in your packet?
Excuse me.
We don't need to hold a February primary, so we don't get to practice for April. However, we can move the meeting back to Monday if everyone's good with that.
Is everybody fine moving back to that Monday? Third?
Monday the 5th?
No,
It'd be the
the
second one.
19th?
Oh,
19th?
we're taking the
19th.
we're taking the 21st off.
I'm changing it back.
Back to Monday like we
Okay, let me add that first.
Change it back to the.
We had moved it because we thought we'd have an election on the 20th,
Right.
but we don't need to have one,
So
so,
now the meeting on the 21st is canceled.
yeah. So it'll be the 5th and 19th.
Okay, delete.
Is that fine with council?
Sure. Yes.
Can I get a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion.
We have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion to move the council meeting back to the 19th? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed to move the second council meeting back to the 19th in February. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.